Once again, welcome to DF Dialogue, COVID DF Dialogue. We are today going to talk to Mr. Arun Maira. Arun Maira was a member of Planning Commission, as you know, and he has written several books. He is a think tank in himself, and he has given us a lot of opportunity to understand economy, how the world works, how the democracy works, and so on and so forth. So he is right here, in the lockdown, living in Gurgaon. But let's go online and talk to him in this episode of COVID DF Dialogue. We thought that this conversation needs to be more urgent and more frequent,
Mm-hmm.
and it also required to bring the voices from the ground, because in isolation most of the people are unable to hear the voices from the ground,
Mm-hmm.
what is happening on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You know DEF for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
You are part of this isolation or lockdown of COVID. You know what is happening during the COVID. You have been living and writing and talking about economy,
Mm-hmm.
about discussions, thoughts, and people and movements and all that for a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to have this discussion with you on DF Dialogue as what is your first reaction? And I mean, although now we are more than a month into the lockdown and more than a couple of months into the COVID impact,
Mm-hmm.
but and your thought may have also got consolidated now. But what is your first reaction that what what are we going through? I mean, is it a health crisis? It is an economic crisis? It is a human existence crisis? Is it the planet that is at risk? I mean, what is going on?
Well, yes, backwards. It is a planet existence crisis, but within that, the most important thing is a human crisis. And the human crisis is not merely about us human beings existing together in the shape in which we have been used to together, but also our ability to now live with the planet in another relationship with the
Mhm.
planet. So there's a crisis of a condition that has happened in our lives as members of a human society. Condition being that we are now isolated, we are not connected. A human society is when you feel that you're with others, doing things which you're used to with others, and now it's suddenly been disrupted completely. So, what does
Mhm.
it mean to be a member of a society? Hmm? We have to think about it, and we are connecting, we're reaching out because we like to connect. And thank goodness for the Digital Empowerment Foundation and digital empowerment and the internet, and we are able yet to connect and remain connected. The concern about the planet is coming out in a quite interesting way, in terms of a little hope now that wow, the Ganga has become clean, while
Mhm.
our human activity, economic activity, human activity stopped. Somehow nature is so beautiful. Here
Mhm.
where I'm sitting, I don't hear any motor vehicle, no
Right,
motorcycle, nothing. I
right.
hear birds, I hear
Mhm.
the wind, I
Right.
even hear the gentle breeze in the few potted plants on my balcony. It's so lovely. So
Mhm.
we can see that we were interfering with nature.
Mhm.
Our human activity was interfering with nature. And that if we just stopped, nature is so graceful, it's so beautiful, it is there for us.
Mhm.
So, what do we do now? As we come out of this crisis in which we've been forced to stop what we were doing, what will we do now when we are given the option of returning to the world as it was, the world that we had shaped, and live in it as we were? Would we do that? Would we want to do that? That's a crisis of aspiration that is emerging in my mind, and I know many people are saying that. कि अभी बहुत लोगों को दुख हो रहा है, खासकर the migrants who didn't have a home to be locked down in. Thank
Right.
luckily we can be, and I say we can pass days comfortably, quietly, more peacefully, enjoying all this serenity around us. But there are many millions of people who don't have a place like this, who were
Mhm.
told to stay at home, and then they showed us that they don't have a home. Where shall they go? Where shall they live? And so what sort of world are we going to, by our actions, by our ideas, help to create, which would be a kind world for every human being, especially those who have been the least privileged so far, and for the nature around us also. So these thoughts are coming in mind. Mine and many people have begun to ask that while we are concentrating on relief, and we should, this is the time to, at the same time, think about what we're going to create together. Should we, and we will, come out of this strange situation of being physically locked in.
So, like you said, nature is calling us, nature is more visible, nature is more, serene, and I mean, we can hear them, we can see them in this silence of being isolated, okay? Because they are in action. They were always in action, but now we can see those actions. Since our actions are limited, their actions are visible,
Mm.
so it's very beautiful. But human is also a product of nature, and we humans created so many of us, and therefore India is being one of the most populated, China being one of the most populated, we also have one of the most populated poor people. And then the whole cycle of existence on daily wages or daily living on daily earnings and things like that, which is actually a part of economy. And we also saw that in the last several decades we developed the human development in such a way that we started depending on economy of desire rather than economy of need, or the aspirations and things like that, because the basic needs of human beings are very less, and that can be met with the least destruction, with the least activities also. But and therefore, don't you think that the way we nurtured ourselves into a economy of desires, rather than economy of needs, is actually against the nature itself?
Yes, it is. We have started to, for the last maybe 100 years more, to think of human progress in terms of material growth.
Mhm.
That if, as a human being, I were to have more stuff around me, and a greater variety of stuff around me, then my life is a better life, and humanity has progressed by enabling people to have more stuff around them and to be able to buy more stuff. So become very consumerist.
Right,
Consumerist. So our satisfactions come out of consumption. Our satisfactions are not coming out of being in
right,
harmony with family, being in harmony with nature.
right, right.
Consumption drives the material economy. And so we get advertising, which is tempting people to want things which they are doing very happily without. You are into the internet and smartphones, which are so essential there. And
Hmm.
Apple has become the most valuable. Well, before that, I mean, just now it's Amazon, but Apple, the most valuable company, because, well, it produced smartphones, and then every 1 or 2 years it produced a little variant in the smartphone. And if you didn't have that variant, you weren't progressing, you didn't feel satisfied,
Right,
right?
right,
And you'd say, well, before I had that version of the smartphone, wasn't I happy? And I can go back and say, before I had even a smartphone, wasn't I happy? Weren't
right.
people happy?
That's right.
So who's benefiting by the larger consumption? Certainly those who produce and sell things
Hmm.
benefit, because they get more profit out of it. But those who are consuming, are they really benefiting from being made to aspire? And we use this word aspire there. Yeah. Made to, I think, arm twisted to become greedy for more material consumption. Are we benefiting? So we have to think about what we really aspire for as human beings. This word aspirational, young Indians, and you've talked about the advantage of having, there is an advantage of having lots of young people, because there's a lot of energy in young people.
Right.
Yes, and they can drive and stay longer with their aspirations because they have a longer life yet to lead, and create more than older people could do in the remaining years of their life. And so we say, oh, India is so blessed, we got an aspirational workforce.
Hmm.
What are they aspiring for? And we describe that aspirational workforce, the economists have, all of us have got excited about it. They aspire for a motorcycle. They aspire for a smartphone. They aspire for, going to the gym. They aspire for consumption.
Right.
Hmm? So we are, I think, changing human nature by wanting the economy to grow, while wanting the economy to grow. And we got to go back to say, no, no. The purpose of the economy must be to serve society and humanity, not humanity and society are not there to serve the economy. This is the big shift that has happened. We all are there in the service of the economy to help the economy grow by consuming more, by earning more. Why? To consume more. I mean, we could be happy with lesser earnings if we weren't tempted to buy the latest version of the smartphone. Or after a
So,
motorcycle, why do I need to have a car? And if I have a car, why do I need a Jaguar? Hmm?
so you nicely put that, the economy need to serve the humanity rather than the humanity need to serve the economy.
Yes.
So this line has to reverse. It has to it has to reverse in the coming time, and that's what this virus is a chance for us to learn that where we should move. Where do you see, India always knew itself that they are the less consuming society, this less consumeristic society. We still have more than half of the country living on basics, very basic needs. We are
Mhm.
not a country of high consumption.
Mhm.
Um, but the world look at us, that we should be the real consumer, and that's the reason why everybody wants to sell their products here. They want to India to become the most consumeristic country so that the world sells to us. But
Mhm.
in this kind of scenario, do you see that India has an advantage of being a less consumeristic society or community, because of half of the population of the country is at the bottom of the pyramid? They are either APL or BPL, the above poverty line or the below poverty line. They already are at the level which we call poor and all that. They have the less consumption power. Do you think we may have an advantage in the next turnaround of the globe?
Yes, I think so. Here we are all locked down. We had to stay where we were when we were told to stay in. Those of
Mhm.
us who had homes can stay in. My friend Shekhar Kapoor, the film director who won an Oscar many years ago for his film Elizabeth in Hollywood. So he's been for the last many years, 15, 20 years, and he's part of the National Innovation Council, which I served in Osama. You'd also come to us for
Right,
some meetings. So he's been a good friend. So what happened was he was making documentaries the last few years of the lives of Indian communities, how
right.
Indian communities live when they're unspoiled
Hmm.
by the internet and many other things too, as well as contrasting them with Indian communities living with joining the modern world. So just through
Right.
pictures to see what are the satisfactions in the two different models, as it were. So Shekhar was up in the mountains in the Himalayas on the 23rd of March, some remote village beyond Almora, 8 hours away, when there was a lockdown. So now
Hmm.
he was stuck up there. He was stuck up there. So he sent a picture last week,
Hmm.
and he spoke on the phone. The picture is of the beautiful mountains, as you can imagine,
Right.
sun on the Himalayas and it's morning light or something beautiful. So he tells the story as he told us on the phone. He said, I'm here and there is a village up in the mountains and the people, they've got their goats and they have their little things and they burn a little bit of wood to cook. But ja rahe hain and they pluck a few things and they've got the little cornfield on the slope. And for them, they're not worried about COVID.
Hmm.
Life is simply and beautifully, as he says in his two words, simply and beautifully carrying on. And I'm appreciating the beauty of a simple life.
Hmm.
So I hope, he would be producing these lovely pictures to say that's what maybe real people who are not spoiled by advertising aspire for. I'm talking about those goatherds and others. The real people really aspire for. So when can we become real again? And not become these machines who are triggered to buy. And as companies also say, as they're branding and they're selling, we want a larger share of the consumer's wallet. Who
Hmm.
says, I want a larger share of a human being's heart?
Yeah, so two things very interesting you said is that humans who have become machines has to become human once again.
Yes.
And And the second thing you just said,
Is what you're searching for, which part of me? You want me to earn more.
yes.
So why I want you to earn more so that you'll be able to consume what I produce. So therefore, I want to make you
Right.
vocational training a part of a machine. So we are spending in India a lot of money making these human beings vocational training so that they get jobs, which we'll pay them some money and they'll buy our stuff. And of course, we'll make a lot of profit out of it and the GDP will grow. And some people will become very wealthy. But ye bechare, they'll be struggling all the time like they were as migrant workers, because that was what we said is the way to go. And then you keep saying that India is underdeveloped, and you see people would talk about when coming to the villages of India. This is what Shekhar's little story brings out and say, the Indians are not aspirational. They're too easily satisfied, which is why Indians don't progress.
Yeah.
They're not greedy.
Yeah.
If they were more greedy, they would progress. Progress which way? We're realizing we're going to change the direction of progress and go the other way. And don't be greedy. Don't aspire for consumption. Live with yourself peacefully, with your village peacefully, with the nature around you peacefully. वो goats भी बकरियां कर रही हैं, आप भी बस मस्त हैं, सब हैं.
So एक चीज जो देखने को मिल रही है because of the COVID, and you also said that we were quite dominated by the business, economy vis-a-vis business. They actually controlled our life by selling, buying, supplying, and so on and so forth.
Now in the lockdown, what I am seeing is that from being controlled by business, now we are in control of government. Because is now everything is about administration, governance, control, curfew, rokthaam, everything, around this. From the democracy perspective, from the freedom perspective, from the perspective of being natural right of do whatever you want to do, do you think that we might get into a new era of controlled government on human beings taking COVID as an excuse?
Yes, we are very likely to come into that. And there are two forces that will bring us into that. One, I think, is not a bad force, is that if something must be done for the safety of everybody, then we must authorize someone to make sure we all do it.
Right.
Democracy itself is that same principle, that we elect somebody and put that person in the position, the government in the position, to impose rules on everybody, to help us to manage our commons, our society, our environment, in a way that we don't harm others. So this is the origin of the need for regulation of ourselves, okay, by somebody that we authorize to do it. Because we in our daily lives will have a little bit of conflict. Is it mine? Is it yours? My boundary, your boundary. So someone who's outside this daily conflict, we say, you sit in your fuel, your ivory tower, your Babu office, and we can turn to say, what is it that we should be doing?
Right.
Of course, those people should be doing what we collectively ask them to do for us. Now, when it comes to an emergency, when like the one we are in, or can happen in a physical war too, we are all frightened about what has happened. And I hope that somebody is going to stop this from getting worse.
Right.
So at that moment, we do need discipline. We do need someone to impose that discipline on all of us. Yeah? Because people in their own fright and their own desire for things which at that moment they don't have, will take actions in their self-interest, which could harm the collective interest. Okay, so this has been happening and begun to happen again in other countries in this COVID in the United States, where this land of the freedom and people are coming out in Georgia, the state, onto the streets saying, land of the free and what the heck. And in Brazil, the president saying, yeah, see, people are taking away your freedom, get out, who says there's a COVID? And Trump, of course, has got his own views that there's no such thing. It is just some panic that China has created. So you see, you can use the other idea about freedom to create a mess for everybody also. And so we do need some wisdom in the exercise of authority. So I'm coming to that process of democracy, which is having collective wisdom. How do we shape our collective ideas and come to collective agreements? So in this, if I might say, Saman, I've spoken with you and your colleagues in DEF, that the internet has, on one side, been a boon. It has enabled people to express themselves, but on the other side, it has been a real disaster.
Right.
Because it's disabled us from getting collective wisdom. It has disabled us from coming to agreements. It has enabled us to express ourselves for what we care about. It has enabled us to express very loudly who we don't care about. It is not enabling us to enable government to function. So in this situation, governments can use that technology when times come like the ones we have, which they need technology to, if you will, control the behaviors of people so that we don't harm each other. They will use the technology. And in such moments, like you're noticing even in India, there's a large crowd of people who say, thank goodness we've got Aadhaar, thank goodness we've got the internet. We are able to track people who are infected. We're able to also benignly say, if those are the only people infected, we could put them into smaller places and let the other people go around carrying on normal activity. So it could be used benignly also, technology could. But it can be used, like you're alleging, could be used for control purposes. The question is, who's controlling it? And so I come back to what you mentioned about capitalist cooperation, where I was, and then you talk about the government. The question is, who owns and uses good technology? I'm calling every technology a good technology. But what objectives do they have? Whose ends does the use of technology serve? Is it serving the cause of the people? Serving the cause of the corporation by enabling them to sell more, get more advertising, make more money? Serving the cause of an evil government to enable it to control against the will of the people? Or serving the cause of a benign government which is using technology because people want it to ensure that there is no disorder?
Right.
So these are questions about the purpose of the institutions, the purpose of a corporation, the purpose of government. What's the purpose of a corporation? Is the purpose of a corporation to make more money for shareholders only? The way it has been the last 30, 40 years. If that is so, it is as evil to let the corporation own the technology as it might be to let a government which has got an evil intention to own the technology.
Right. One last thing before we close, and we have just few minutes left for half an hour to complete, is that what is very interesting is that there has been a trend, like it's a part of economy only, that we became a global citizen, everything became global. We are eating apples coming from Arizona, we are consuming things which is coming from the different part of the world. The whole concept of local living, local economy, local dependence, local interdependence, local sustainability, 100-mile living, 100-mile consumption was absolutely, had gone for a toss. In this scenario, it looks like that we might have to go back to our original thing, is that, do barter locally, depend on local consumption, depend on local supply, depend on local dependency rather than depending globally. Do you see that because of the COVID, we might have to rethink our supply chain, our interdependency, our economy in a very localized manner?
We would have to, when it goes to something very elementary for someone. If I take the human body and the human being as the element that we who believe in, that everything should be for the benefit of human beings. In the human body, I've got hearts, lungs, different organs.
Right.
Yeah? And it's by different organs operating together in harmony that I have my life.
Right.
I could very well say that, Osama, my lungs are in better shape than your lungs. You may say that your liver is in better shape than mine. You eat better food than I do, rich food than I do. So then we talk about that this is the theory of competitive advantage and constructing a larger system. Okay, let your liver do the functioning for digestion for me and for everybody else. Let my lungs do the breathing for everybody else, and we start connecting, livers to one liver and lungs to another lung. What have we made of human beings? We've broken it up into some big thing, which may be very big. Of course, it is big and hopefully very efficient. But what happened to the human beings inside? You took life out of systems. A system is always diverse. It has diverse organs which, working together, give it the next order emergence, which is a new being. Something new emerges, which is the human being, for example. So in systems theory, we say you must have economies of scope meaning there must be a sufficient variety of diverse capabilities together, then something better emerges, and that is a more self-reliant system also. It has more freedom, more independence to exist in a complex world. Okay? So we have broken it up. We got this idea about, one person will produce in England everything for everybody and someone somewhere else. The theory of economies of scale. And with that very mathematical economic notion, we have broken, as I said, humanity apart. And of course, these big supply chains and carrying things through aeroplanes and ships across the ocean, we are also breaking up the environment.
Right. Wow, great. This human as a localized ecosystem is a great example of learning from the human, system itself. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think we should keep the capsule for half an hour for the people to consume. We might come back once again to you in about few weeks time, how things progress, because while many of the people are thinking that being isolated has given chance to the nature to to come to us, but certainly we are also caught up on our daily requirements, daily needs, and daily necessities. So we will come back to you once again to consolidate our discussion, but thank you very much for this time. And we are going to translate also this and transcribe this and share with you, and then share publicly also. Thank you very much for participating in DF Dialogue.
Osama, thank you very much, and please keep doing what you're doing. You are listening to the people in the villages, as we say, and you have been so much trying to bring those voices to us, and like Shekhar Kapoor has done in his own very small, beautiful way. Keep doing it. We must understand what we could be. Have aspiration for a better community life, in harmony with each other and with nature. And small communities and the poorer people do it better than the rich people do.
Thank you very much. We will forward you the wisdom of the ground in any case, like we always do to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.